Morning gardeners and homesteaders, welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead, and I'm not even going to waste anybody's time. I'm going to get straight to it. I did a video about some seed starting stuff and I got a couple comments, and it made me realize that there may be some people that don't understand seed starting dates. And in this video, I'm going to tell you I'm in North Carolina, and I'm not going to tell you my zone because it does not matter what zone I'm in or you're in. But we're gonna get to the bottom of this, and I'm gonna get you guys to be able to figure out when you should start starting seeds for the coming year. So it's really important that we figure this out, because you can either waste a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money, or you can get it all under control, save a lot of money, get growing earlier, and enjoy your harvest and have a 3-season garden at minimum with success. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take you around. I'm going to show you a couple things. And well, let me just say this. The coldest it's been here is 24 degrees. And now we have covers for stuff. And the only thing that was repeatedly covered was the greenhouse. Like the low tunnels and stuff, we forgot to cover up and it got to 24 degrees. So we're going to walk around real quick and I'm just going to show you the crops. And these are the crops we're going to start growing first. So this is my main part of the garden, and we're just going to kind of run through. It's pretty simple, especially the way I plant. The cabbages, as you can see, no issues whatsoever. No damage as far as frost goes or anything like that. And we've got Brussels sprouts, same thing. 24 degrees, no issue. We've actually got lettuces that did fairly well, surprisingly enough. 24 degrees, no issue. We've got our bok choy here, which is a tender, I think is the most tender vegetable I have out here. And we do have a really good example of this where it's not bothered at all. We've got another row here, good shape. But then we've got this one right here. Now, I do want to point this one out. Never mind, I cut it and left it, haha. So never mind. So what I was going to say is, because the sun is so low right now, we're just before the solstice, this pot creates shade and won't let things warm up. And what I had assumed happened, which was just my fault, was it was sitting in the shade and wasn't getting that recovery time. But apparently I cut it and just forgot it was there. Hey, your boy made a boo-boo, what can I say? But that has happened before, and you will see that happen. But let's continue on. We got bok choy, whatever. Kales, no problem whatsoever. The broccoli, other than the death from me screwing it up, fine, no problem. We even have a head of broccoli here. So all of these are doing good. If we walk over here, we've got radishes. They're doing just fine. So this bed of radishes is good. And then this bed of rutabaga is good, no damage whatsoever from the cold. Also over yonder have carrots, collards, and daikon radishes, and some spinaches are the main crops growing in the wild garden. But to save time, I'm not going to take you over there. So I did that video and I got a couple comments, and as of right now, roughly by the time you're watching this, I am 8 weeks out from my planting date. And I got a comment that was like, oh wow, you're 8 weeks out from your planting date, must be nice. We're just getting in the winter. So are we. It's not even winter yet. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it is warmer here, but we've had a pretty cold year so far. We've been in the 20s, we haven't gotten out of the 50s, and I know there's people, look, when I started seed starting, I started in Massachusetts, okay? Freezing cold, I get it. Not everybody gets into the 50s and 60s during the winter, but that's okay, because there's all these steps you can take in order to ensure that you can start planting a little bit earlier. I want to use this greenhouse as an example. Watch out, sorry dog, you're in the way. Dog's always in the way. When you open it up, at night, it stays 5 degrees warmer in here on the way that we've got it set up. So you can see we have had 0 damage in here. But this is the important point of all of this. Now, first things first, I am 8 weeks away. I was about to say 2 months. 8 weeks away from my planting date, but I am not 8 weeks away from my tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, beans, squashes planting date. I am like 5 months away from that. So let's not trip. We need to be very clear about what we're planting. We're planting appropriate crops for the appropriate season. And that's really important. And it doesn't make a hill of beans what your zone is. Nobody cares about your zone. That zone is not for vegetable gardening, okay? The only thing it's gonna tell you is how cold it can possibly get in your area. And it can even drop below that, even though it's not often, but it can. So let's just get that out of the way. So what we need to look at is we need to look at weather. We need to look at planting dates recommended by, the seed companies and governmental agencies. Look, I don't love the government, but this is how it is. Sometimes they give you good information and you need to take advantage of it. So don't watch me. Don't watch MI Gardener. Don't watch Roots and Refuge. Don't watch all these people if you're not in their area trying to figure out when to plant, because that's not going to happen, okay? It just doesn't happen. Recently, I did a seed starting sheet for Batavia at Be Better Gardens. She's my co-host on the Backyard Gardens podcast. And for her birthday / Christmas, I went through and gave her seed starting dates for when to start seeds. And as we got through it, I was absolutely shocked. She's in Chicago. Yeah, Chicago. Way up there. Our seed starting dates are very, very similar. So what we need to know is we need to know our last frost date. Mine is roughly, I go by April 15th. I think technically it's April 7th, but I give it a little bit of a break. And then we start counting back. So 2 months from that, that's when you're gonna start your peppers, your tomatoes. And you can even start them 9 weeks before. So that's your starting date for those kinds of plants. Now, I'm not gonna get into the specifics in this video. We'll do a future videos about this, about what plants need to be started earlier or later. We can do all that, but just to get you started in your planting dates. So I'm planting on February 15th-ish, big-ish, because of the weather. We're gonna be planting a couple different things. Grace of God, we will have harvested our cabbage and we will be planting more cabbage. We'll definitely be planting more broccoli because you can see we had a huge mistake this year. Over here, I'm looking around. We're not going to be planting any kale. We're not going to be planting any collards because we've already planted them. And we're not going to be, and we're going to be planting more rutabagas. So the rutabagas are over there, and we're probably going to put them here. So just to keep that into the whole realm of things. At the same time, we may also be doing carrots. We'll be doing beets. We'll be doing a lot of direct sowing as well. And when I say at the same time, you have to remember this is the gardening same time. Okay? This is not your cell phone, look at the calendar same time. This is a period of time of about 1 to 2 weeks that we give ourselves. So remember, gardening is not like hard and fast until you come to starting seeds, but planting out, you need to be very careful. So we're gonna be starting, and we've already started. You've just seen the video, and if you haven't, after this, go back and watch it. The last video, we started our first set of seeds. We started cabbages and broccoli, hands down. Then in a couple weeks, we'll start a couple more different vegetables and more and more and more. And then come February 15th, boom, we'll start everything else that needs to be started and then go from there. So we have all of these things. We have an order in which we do it. So we need to think about temperatures outside. This is the key, everybody. Temperatures. This is what runs the whole game. And you can even bend the rules a little bit with it with a little bit of effort. Now, this exact moment, do me a favor. Put in the comments what you think your start date is, and then come back after, if this is asking a lot, I know. But once you've done your homework and you figured it out, come back and put in what it actually is, like reply to that comment, and you'll see the difference, I'm pretty sure. So give that a shot and see what happens. Put it in the comments, and don't even worry about the zone. Tell us the state you're in. I don't want to hear anybody's zone because it does not matter. For the sake of this, I'm just going to focus on cabbages, and I'm not really going to worry about much else because this is the first thing that goes into the garden ultimately. Right now, we're getting freezing temps at night, frost level temps, 32, 31, 30, even down in the freezing. Clearly, we got to 24, and we're coming up to about 50s in the day. And right now, the sun is at its absolute lowest point of the year. And look at these plants. Just look at them. They're doing fine. They're growing. They are, look at that, starting to head up. We're a little behind schedule, but that's okay. So you can see this is the time frame in which you want to put your plants out. What you're going to do, and I've told you, I'm not going to tell you your planting date, because that's not what anybody, there is not one person on YouTube, unless it is your neighbor, that is going to tell you your planting date. Remember that. Nobody can tell you your planting date except for somebody in your immediate area. So go to timeanddate.com. That's Batavia's favorite website in the whole wide world, and none of our platforms are sponsored by it, and God, I wish it was, because we'd be quadrillionaires as much as we talk about it. Look at your historical data. Go back and look at it, and you're going to see your averages. Now, take it a step further and go back and look at the previous year and the year before that and the year before that, and just kind of see how it flows, how it actually went compared to your historic or to your average data. And you're going to start to see these changes. Now, I know some people up north are like, well, my ground's frozen. I get it. I dealt with it. I know. And I know how to get around that. That's the thing. So there's this beautiful thing. It's a color called black. It's not even a color. It's a hue. Put something black on your garden. When you're getting these temperatures, but your ground's still frozen, put something on earlier before you're getting ready to go out that's black on top of it, black plastic, black trash bags, something like that. And that can warm it up and start to thaw that ground out. Now, let's say you're gonna get a freak cold. I get it. And there's always a learning curve with this. That's what a low tunnel's for. That's exactly what this structure is for. So we have this set up at all times. It cost me about $25 to build this one, and then another $10 to build that one. And I have enough plastic to do another one, so there'd be another 15 bucks. So I can do 3 beds for about 50 bucks. I know money doesn't grow on trees. I get it. You may be limited. If you can do it, great. Start covering your bed before it's empty. Cover your bed, or before it's planted. Cover your bed at night. Leave it covered. It will warm it up during the day, and it will start to thaw that soil out. Now, I love my grandfather more than anything, and I miss him. He's the man that got me into gardening when I was a kid, and I miss him every day. And his favorite place to talk about was Kalamazoo, Michigan. Shout out to anybody in or around Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's a weird ass name, but it applies here. If you live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and it is freezing cold, and it stays cold like that, and you put that on there, you're going to be able to plant something a little bit earlier, because it will thaw that soil out. Now, you're going to have to be diligent, and you're going to have to leave it covered, and you're going to have to vent it on warm days and stuff like that. But let's just take this greenhouse, for example, because the simple fact, if I was a smart man, I'd put a sensor in the low tunnel and see what the temperatures get, and that may happen very soon. But for right now, let's take this right now. And I've done a video about this greenhouse, and it is basically a glorified low tunnel. It is nothing special. The only reason why it stays 5 degrees warmer at night is because I've made it 5 degrees warmer at night, which you can also do in your low tunnel. We'll get to that in a second. 5 degrees warmer at night, and it's been shut up for about a week. It gets down low. I haven't even opened the door really. I'll vent it every once in a while just to get fresh air in. And the highest temperature it's gotten in there at 58 degrees outside is 74 degrees. That's what the temperature is during the day, which helps with the recovery of your plants. Did another video about that. That helps with the recovery of your plants in winter. It is not your low temperatures, it is the speed in which they can recover and the cells can release the water and get them going so that the plant can continue to do its thing, to grow. I'm omitting all kinds of scientific terms because it doesn't matter. It just absolutely doesn't matter. So that's what helps with that. Now, you don't have that? Cool, you don't need it. You just need one of these. And it does the exact same thing. If I left it covered up, same thing. Now, I don't need to leave it covered up because I've got the right vegetables in there and it's getting warm in the day, but I know that. And these are the things that you need to know when you're looking for your plant date. So don't come at me and say, must be nice that you can plant early, because I guarantee you, your start date is gonna be right around there. Somewhere around February, March, somewhere in there, I guarantee you, you can stick something in the ground. And if you haven't tried it, try it. That's the only way you're gonna know to fail. Another way to know when your plant date is go to the store. They will start putting out seedlings early, and they're gonna put out cabbages, Brussels sprouts, kale, broccoli, all these things that you see me growing here. They're gonna start putting those out early, and that's gonna be another key in which you can start. Now you may need to protect them, because let's be clear, the stores bring them into their covered structures at night to eliminate the amount of frost that lands on the plant, because they gotta keep them looking good so you buy them. Here's a good example right here. It got 31 degrees last night, and I didn't even cover this bed. But look at this right here. Do you see this condensation building up? That's the heat inside that plastic working. Now that's just plastic, and you can see there's more plastic, and it's all balled up. But imagine if you had this black ground on it that was just releasing the heat, and this was just soaking up the heat. It changes the game completely. Should I be leaving my beds covered right now and filling them up, or letting them heat up during the day? Of course I should. Of course I would. These carrots would take off. Might actually start doing that now that I said it out loud, but there is that. So yes, you should, but I don't feel like doing that. You know why? Because I got all this other stuff to worry about and all these other platforms to take care of. But I started this YouTube journey because I wanted to help people garden. I wanted to show people what was possible. And being in the wintertime, the people in the South get ridiculed because it's warm, but there's a very huge lack of sympathy for the people in the South in the summer, when we basically go through the same thing you're going through right now, where we almost can't grow anything because it's so hot. And I'm not even in the deep, deep South. So there is that aspect of it too, where we have a different set of problems. That being said, I realize right now there is a huge portion of this country and this viewership that just can't have anything in the garden right now. But that doesn't mean that you can't start your seeds earlier. So there is no reason why you should be putting a cabbage seedling and a tomato seedling in the ground at the same time. There is never a reason why that should happen. As a matter of fact, you should not even, when you're putting your tomatoes in, you should be pulling all of these things we've talked about out of your garden at the same time. So think about it that way. And this is how you get a really productive garden and grow for 3 seasons: spring, summer, fall. And yes, you plant spring at some point during the winter. You don't have to wait for the equatorial spring to occur, which is when the earth gets to the exact moment around the sun in which it starts to heat up, and it's considered spring. Generally, we as gardeners are starting earlier. We're out here in jackets, and yes, this is a toboggan. It's not a sled, I get it, but that's how we speak. So this is how it all works. Now, we're just about to stick more onions in the ground. You can put onions in the ground, incredibly hardy. That's one of the first things you should be starting is onions, especially if you're like farther up north and you're growing short day onions. They're gonna be like the first thing you can start, the first thing you can plant, and one of the last things you're gonna harvest for spring, or the last thing you're gonna harvest for spring. So it's just like everybody putting in garlic bulbs. We all put them in the fall, and they grow just fine. And I don't think that as a whole, it's really hard to get a grasp that the plants that we grow are capable of growing in the weather that they do. And that's really important to understand, is there are plants that are extremely hardy. Kale and collards, they grow all winter long here. I've never had a kale plant die from the cold here. I've had them get burned, but I've never had one, as long as it was nice and mature, never die from the cold. So keep that in mind. Now, I urge you guys to do your research, comment down below to help other people, and really think to yourself, like, when am I going to be able to start my seeds for my garden? Because by the time you're going to start your seeds for your tomatoes, you should be pulling your cabbages, your broccolis, your rutabagas if you choose so to do. If you can do Brussels sprouts, you should be pulling those out. Bok choys, kales, all these things, they should all be coming out before you get your tomatoes. And this is how you use a small seed shelf to grow everything you need. I have a small seed shelf, which we're going to be doing a video on soon, so make sure you're tuned in and you're subscribed for that. And I'm going to show you that on this seed shelf, we pull off hundreds of seedlings a year for all 3 seasons. And fall doesn't count, but between summer or spring and summer, we are rotating seedlings out of there constantly. And we've got it down to a science, but this is how it works. You know, I figured out last week that I've been doing certain seeds for 13 years now. And I had to learn this piece by piece by piece, failing over and over and over. And if I can help you not fail, then my mission is accomplished. So if I can take, you know, a 5-year journey that I had to start to understand it and narrow you down to a 1-year journey, then I have definitely achieved my goal. And I hope that this helps you. Just make sure that you do your research and you know your temperatures, and don't worry about your damn zone. I'm telling you, I don't want to hear nothing else about no zone. Tell me what state you're in. Tell me what city you're in. Tell me everything but your exact address. I don't care, but don't tell me your zone, because it don't make a hill of beans what your zone is.